Hey everyone, welcome to Training Tuesday for the week. My name is Heidi Reese. I am the training programs manager here at Dayton Superior. And before we get started, just want to go over a couple of items. Everyone who has joined has been muted, just so we can make sure that everybody hears the way that they need to, so no dogs barking, that kind of thing. Just want to let you know that we also record these and you can put them out we put them out on the Dayton Superior's YouTube channel as well as DaytonSuperior.com. So sorry for that. I was pausing because we got a chat and I had a question of assuming about the microphone capabilities. Nope. So all you guys are muted, but that doesn't mean that you can't chat with us, and you can do that through the chat functionality or through the Q&A. We'll definitely have a mini question and answer session for you at the end and get those questions answered. So today we have Mr. Chuck Hoke, who has been with the industry for over 49 years, and he has known anything doing with concrete construction and the world of concrete construction. Were you a dealer for like 8 years, right? Prior to that?
20 years.
20. Oh my
20 years.
gosh. 20 as a dealer. And we're talking accessories and chemicals, forming, pretty much all the stuff that we're going to talk about. Yeah. And he's our national training manager now. And if you don't know who he is the one to call that knows all of the information. Yeah, actually on my script here, he spent 20 years as a dealer, if I just read it. So guess what? Doing the math, 29 of those are with Dayton Superior, and we're so lucky that he is with us. So I'm going to leave it at that because we've got a lot to go through today, and he is going to take you through vertical forming.
Vertical wall.
That's right. Bring it on over, Chuck.
All right. So welcome everybody. As Heidi alluded, these classes and presentation is intended for training purposes only. If you need any technical assistance from any part of this practice, contact www.daytonsuperior.com. And this presentation is also protected by copyright law. So who is Dayton Superior? Everybody wonders, okay, we listen to this guy every day. Well, Dayton Superior is the leading provider of engineered solutions for the concrete construction industry. What does that mean? Well, we are a full line provider for power, utility, commercial, residential, industrial, infrastructure, roadway, and bridge construction projects, whether it be accessories, chemicals, forming, engineering, and training, obviously, which is kind of near and dear to my heart. So if you have any questions in regards to any of the questions that, any of the products that are listed up here, training, whatever, contact us at the end of this presentation. So Dayton Superior, we are the industry leader in this position within the manufacturing world of the distribution of concrete construction products. Dayton has been around for over 100 years. Simon's Form, one of our accessory companies here. Simon's has been around for 124 years now, 123 years now. So we've been there, done that. Okay. So you are looking at companies here and people that have a lot of experience and know how to use the product and can guide you through your project, whether it be forming, accessories, chemicals, whatever. And we have the engineering capability. One of the things you'll also see is that we actually have one of the largest engineering groups in the industry. So who are we with, bar supports, wall forming, splicing, bridge deck, tilt up, precast. Yes, all those are great topics, but you're looking at major brand names of Aztec, Sleeve Lock, DBDI, Bar Lock. You come in with HK Composites and AccuBrace and Taper Lock and the Cody Clip Gun. You've also got in the engineering side of things, Bridgeworks, which is brand new to the marketplace. Tilt Works, Composite Works, and Slab Works. Those are all great products here for whether you're developing a slab or a tilt wall panel or tilt wall or precast project. And then with Simons. Realistically, Simons is the leader in all of the forming systems, from handset for their Steel-Ply system to clamp systems with their Sym-Ply, and then obviously with their heavy-duty Maxiform STS system. Not to mention we've got, space lift, backbone, garage beam, form liner that goes along with all that, and then all the shoring systems that are also available. So let's get talking about vertical wall forming. We got a lot of information we're going to cover here, from nuts to bolts, from way in the beginning of the topic all the way to the end. So let's get started. So you've seen this picture before in some of the other classes here, but job build forms a cross-section view. Typically when we're dealing with snap ties, and snap ties typically are ties that run between 3/4 inch plywood and then 2x4 studs and wales, or it could be a wale and a strong back. Nomenclature doesn't make a bit of difference. Still means that you need an 8 1/4 inch end, and you're going to use a omni wedge to tie it all together at the end. You can get the tie in heavy duty and standard, and you actually have either a washer or a cone style, basic, depending on what your architect or engineer requires. Some engineers will require a cone style, primarily because they want to guarantee break back. A washer style only leaves a small little hole in the concrete slab that can be patched over relatively quick and easy. Wailers and strong backs. All of these systems that we talked about, whether you're talking about the 3/4 inch plywood, the studs, then the wales, they are all called load gathering members. Now, what they do is they actually take the pressure that when you're pouring concrete within the form. Now, you got to consider the concrete form is the mold of the concrete. So that mold, when you're pouring concrete in, is going to want to push outward, away from where the concrete is being dumped into it. So that's going to create pressure. The plywood gathers that pressure, transfers it to the stud, and the stud will transfer that to the wailer. And the wailer is going to transfer that load to the tie through the omni wedge in the back that's holding everything in together. So the tie will actually be what's supporting all the weight that's actually pushed on it. It's just that that lumber is all what they call the load gathering parts of the system. Basically, as we talked about, your concrete flow pressure is going to go from your plywood to your stud or wailer to your strong back or wailer to the tie. This is known as your concrete form pressure. And whether you have either, as we said earlier, a stud and a wale or a wale and a strong back. Both systems are totally acceptable in the marketplace. It all depends, it's contractor preference, which way he wants to go, how he wants to form things up. Myself, I grew up as a stud and wale guy. I mean, most of my jobs all had studs and wales on them. So it's, like I said, contractor preference. On the snap ties, you got a bunch of different varieties. Most snap ties in today's market typically have a hex head or a penta head on the end. So you can actually use a wrench to actually break it back. Now you see those two little flat spots in the form. Those are called anti-spin devices. So that means once you pour your concrete and it gets hard, you actually take a wrench. Basically, I like to use either a pair of plier vice grips or a plumber's wrench. Basically, put it on the end of the snap tie and spin it around to snap off the thing. Those anti-spin devices in there hold the tie in the wall sound, so it will not continually spin. So it will break off. Now, snap ties are always given a break back. And that is just a little indentation in the wire or a weak spot so that when you twist the wire, that area will break first. And that's where your tie will actually give you the break back from the wall surface. You also have availability of doing a Jahn forming system. Jahn forming systems, great system. Typically, you're going to use short end snap ties. You're going to use a standard duty tie with the Jahn system because it is only a 2,250 pound system. But you can also have a heavy duty tie for other systems when you're using like the Omni wedge and other systems available. The Jahn system, as we referred to, we talked about a little bit here. It is light forming. Primarily uses the Dayton short end snap ties, a tie wedge, or Jahn clamps. Now, the Jahn clamps, like I said, typically have to be used with light duty ties because the eccentric on the back there, because it is pressed and heat pressed, it is only good for about 2,250 pounds. The tie wedge, on the other hand, you can actually accommodate up to 3,350 pounds. The Jahn system primarily is a single whale system. So basically, you're going to put the tie through the plywood once you drill your holes, attach a Jahn A bracket to it, and then put the 2x into it. That 2x will actually carry the load. Now, it's recommended that every 8 foot that you put a strong back, and strong back just basically ties all of the ties in the wall form together. So basically, it's going to help keep it in alignment vertically. So I strongly recommend using a strong back at least a minimum of every 8 foot. With the Jahn system, you're going to have a grand total of probably a handful of nails on the project. It's one of those that's called loose sticks and boards for a reason, because you don't have to attach anything to with nails. But in certain applications, especially on the outside of the form, where you run your whalers by and across each other, you're going to want to drop a nail down in through the boards to actually make that connection in the corners. Now, we also have the Gates system, or the Sherlock system, as we call it here at Dayton. This system here came around and uses a little bit the different fixture than the snap tie. You see the snap tie there with the break back, the anti-spin, and the long end, and then the hex head. Well, the the Sherlock tie, which is a product very similar. If you hear the word Gates Camlock, they were the originator of this system. We came up with the Sherlock system about 3 years later. The system itself uses a loop tie that you're showing here with a self-centering plastic cone, has a 1 inch break back, and you can see they also have anti-spin characteristics within the wire already. The loop on the end here is just a different mechanism for actually making your connecting your load gathering systems to the tie. So the big problem with this system, if you don't own it already, it is rather expensive to get into it if you're looking at purchasing products, because the cam lock or the Sherlock bracket and the what they would call the grasshopper, the strong back bracket, is relatively costly to get involved in it. But if you have it, this is a great system for doing light forming. When all else fails, and you just don't have a tie where you need to have a tie, or you can't put one through, you can actually use pencil rod. Pencil rod is just that. It is a smooth piece of wire, usually 1/4 inch or 3/8 are the typical ones. You're seeing that the safe working loads are about 1,100 pounds, 1,125 pounds, and 2,250 pounds. What you would do is actually slide that pencil rod through your form, attach a rod clamp on the end of it, usually a D12 or D12F are probably two of the most common ones. Once you attach that, you bend the wire up 90 degrees at the end. And on the other end, you attach your rod clamp, but don't tighten it down. You're gonna take that D14 wrench, tightening wrench, attach it to the wire, and actually tighten it up in place, and then it will actually rotate the tightening wrench around in a circle, and what'll happen is that will spread out. So as it holds onto the wire, it's gonna be pushing it, so when you get your desired wall thickness, you can then tighten down your rod clamp. Once you tighten down that rod clamp, you remove the tightening wrench and bend the wire up 90 degrees. That bend is extremely important because if you don't have that bend in there, that wire will just want to when you start putting pressure on this, that wire will want to elongate a little bit and it will loosen itself up. That bend actually helps hold that in. Hence why we only have a reduced working load of 1,125 or 2,250 pounds. We have for light forming, you'll see this occasionally on wall slabs, especially single-sided single-sided walls. That was a mouthful, yes. On the back side of the form, especially if an area where you can't remove your formwork. This is a great idea to drop it in the backside there. You can actually use this metal rib feature here to actually pour your wall. If you have a segmented slab, you can actually use this to segregate those slabs without additional pours or additional formwork in place. Drop this in place, pour your first section, then come back at a later date to pour your second section. Leave the metal rib in place here. It gives you a very good rough surface, so it'll help the bond or adhesion of the concrete pours together. You can drill this so you can pass rebar through or punch rebar through it. This is a very light duty product, but actually maintains a very good wall figure, especially on like I said, a one-sided wall flooring. This is one of those products here that are used occasionally on a site. It's not something you're going to use every day, but it does come in handy when you do have to have a wall form where you can't remove the form or you can't strip the form from the back side of the wall because you're too close to a structure next to you, etc. So this is a great alternative to that. And if you have to segment or segregate any pour sections, this is also a great tool for that. And we have ties that will accommodate that. We have ties with snap tie ends. We can also get combination ties with this so that we can do a specialty snap tie end with a coil tie on the other end. So you may be able to attach it to coil rod or some other insert cast in place. And we can also do the combination tie to match up to a Steel-Ply forming system. Steel-Ply being a system that we're going to talk about here in a minute that came from Siemens Corporation. And you will see that this tie is one of the most common ties that you'll see in the marketplace. Some of the other items that we actually came out with here in the last 8-9 years have been the B6R rebar hook, which actually enables you to tie off to rebar that's in your casting slab, to tie off to it with a coil rod product that actually, whether it be coil rod, and I'm mentioning coil rod here, but there are other types of coil rod within this forming systems available, but only coil rod can be used with any inserts. So we talked a little bit about Steel-Ply being the most common forming system in the marketplace. Realistically, Steel-Ply actually probably is, when you're looking at the light commercial forming systems, the Steel-Ply and Steel-Ply panel systems being a handset system probably is a little bit over 50 to 60% of the marketplace. You have panel sizes typically of 24 inches. Fillers come in 4 through 22 with even increments. So that means every 4, 6, 8, 10. There is an oddball 5-inch in there, which I don't know why, but there is. And we also have steel fillers available of 1 inch, 1.5 inches, and 2 inch. Just FYI, there is a 30-inch wide adjustable column form. Uh, a lot of times you don't use that because when you use the adjustable column form, you have to drill through your plywood, which gets to be costly and expensive. We do have standard heights of 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10 now. 2 foot and 7 foot are available, but for purchase only. Uh, and you can see that here's the steel filler. They have dado slots here every 2 inches. So if you have a step filler or within your project from, like, say, a garage to a foundation, you can either have a step filler in there. It gives you those dado slots so you can adjust your formwork within 2 inches of where you have to have it. Now that's also available at with a 4-inch piece. Now, when we're talking about key accessories for this, you got your wedge bolt. 2 wedge bolts will make an attachment. One's going to go horizontally across the form, the other one's vertically down through it. Can't get much simpler than that. You also have the one-piece whaler clamp that actually comes in 6 inches down from the top of the form. That is a vertical alignment piece. That's all it is there for, to help you align the form vertically. And then obviously the turnbuckle for plumbing the form as you get ready to pour the concrete. Ties, typically you've got your S panel tie and X flat tie. Those come in available for they come in standard of 4,500 ultimate loads or 2,250 pound safe working loads. You can also get a heavy duty, which is 6,000 and 3,000. And you can see we also have some other ties that are available: S panel ties, toggle ties, adjustable ties, and a bent tie, if so needed within the criteria. Big differences between the two ties. The X flat tie has a 1/4 inch breakback. The S panel tie has a 1 inch breakback. Next system up within this system is our Steel-Ply clamp system. Imperial dimensions. It's the only clamp system in the marketplace that is imperial. 1,500 pound pour rate. Light duty clamps. The clamps only weigh about 3.5 pounds a piece. Typically, standard sizes are 36 inches wide to 8 foot high. You can typically go 8 foot, 6 foot, 4 foot, and 2 foot in height of the panels. And they typically come in standard widths of 36 inches, 24 inches, 18 inches. I'm missing a size there, I'm thinking. But typically you can see there's a limited number of sizes. You can place those all together, and they are compatible with Steel-Ply, so you can match the two up to actually accommodate each system. The clamp, like I said, weighs about 3.5 pounds. It's a vertical design, so that wedge is always working downward, so gravity works for you. You have your adjustable clamp, same thing, that actually enables you to put a 4x up to a 4x4 as your wood filler. So you can basically drop this in between the panels, use this adjustable clamp to tighten it all down. You now have a 4-inch filler in place without having any additional formwork. The Sym-Ply ties and tie plates are typically fairly simple. You got a 15 mm tie. We tuck 15 mm. That's roughly 5/8, but 15 mm Euro thread, which means it has a 2.5 inch thread per inch on each end. So therefore, you're going to have the same washer plate on the backside, which is our standard is a 15 mm 7-inch circular plate with a nut on top of it. You do also have availability of a cast nut bearing washer and a 50 kip cast if you are using a Imperial taper tie. So you'll see different variations down through here. Coming through here, a lot of these are the 15 mm is kind of taking over the job site market till you get into the real heavy forms, and then you're using the standard taper ties. As we talked about, you can actually take the Steel-Ply to Sym-Ply, simple wedge bolt connection. Works very easy together, and you can accommodate 1,500 pounds up to 14 inches. So we have simulators to actually help support for when you pick the panel up to actually help maintain vertical alignment and horizontal alignment. They come in 10 foot, 5 foot, and 13 foot. You got sim head bolts, T head sim bolts, which actually make the attachments through. And you can see on the back of the panel, you have all those little slots there. Every one of those can be used as a connecting point. Now, let's talk about the big granddaddy of them all, the old Maxiform system. Great heavy duty forming system, steel panel, steel ribbed, steel face. Great for doing heavy civil and bridge construction. One of the things though that it did lack, it had self-spanning capabilities. Because of this, the way the ribs were rolled and this overall design of it would actually sag. So you actually had to have shoring in between to actually help support the system in place. Uh, Anytime you get a taller system in place, your shoring would always become an issue. So you have to make sure that was an issue. Well, about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we came out with a new Maxiform STS. It's Maxiform on steroids. So it is a self-spanning system because it gives you a greater moment within the concrete form. You get standard and rentable equipment, limited to no additional equipment or shoring because this will do with self-spanning. Reduced lead times, reduced cycle times, which means money in your pocket. You don't have that labor for it. It makes it quick, it makes it easy for forming. As you can see, you got moment capacity 30% higher than any of the competitive systems in the marketplace. You know, we're talking 2,000 PSF with this system. It's available up to 8 foot by 20, up to 12 foot wide, but the 8 foot by 20 foot panel will actually give you somewhere in the neighborhood of about 2,000 PSF. With even standard, you're also looking at a grand total of over 100 different sizes of panels that are available within the system. You have a heavy duty 1/4 inch steel plate on the front face of it, which actually increases longevity and actually increases the moment strength of this system. You have the heavy duty taper ties, the 64,000 pound. This also has a 2.5 thread per inch, inch and a quarter to inch and a half. And it does have 32 millimeter thread on both ends. 5x7 tie plate typically is our standard. We also have a super she bolt up to 56,000 pounds, standard working load of 64,000 with notice. With notice, we need to check it out before we can actually accommodate that. So you're talking very heavy duty and strong system going through. As you can see, here's a pier that's actually being poured here with a bull nose on it, maxing up to our Tower Max system. This system here is a great uh, system for your bridge and highway applications. You can also do columns with this system and pier caps. Columns is especially exciting because you don't have to have a tie. You can go with the tieless system. The Maxiform system, because of the strength and capacity of it, you can use a single panel for that column, come up with it, no ties required. Now, resources for this product, all of this product here. You've got everything from product pages, system pages, success stories, brochures, application guides, tech data, install guides, product videos, and contact information. Now, where do you get all this information? Well, go to www.daytonsuperior.com. This will give you all of this data here. You can download it and print it off what you need. And if you do have any issues or questions, please come back and talk to us at our training. You can scan this now for any training that's requested. You can request a training class at training@DaytonSuperior.com. Types and offerings, everything from lunch and learns, custom trainings, AIA, engineer, in-person, and virtual. I review any of our online trainings already. You can search Training Tuesday and you'll see a whole series of classes that we've got. One of the things I also like to tell you on Training Tuesday, come on out. If you're out at the World of Concrete, come by our booth on Tuesday.
That's right. Next week, we're going to be doing a live training Tuesday.
At the
Where are
20,
we?
at the 24, we're in booth C 4663 at Central Hall 4663. And so you can stop on down at 1 o'clock Vegas time and catch our show. Remember, that's going to be 4 o'clock East Coast time. So next week's Training Tuesday is going to be a little bit later, and it will be live from the show.
So if there's any questions, go ahead right now and put them in. And just a reminder, we put all of these, as Chuck just told you, out on DaytonSuperior.com. Again, search Training Tuesday. And go ahead. And then we can see what's going on. Okay, we got some questions.
Okay, we do have, actually, there is a 6-inch, 18-inch, 24-inch, 30, and 36-inch wide on the Sym-Ply panels.
Thank you.
There's also available 1-inch. That's also available. Most people actually will use Steel-Ply for that application. Next question that we've got here, our stamp tie is Build America, Buy America certified. You have to request them, and yes, they can be Build America, Buy America. They will be made here in either our plant in Birmingham, Alabama, or excuse me, in Braselton, Georgia, or in Parsons, Kansas.
Awesome. Any other questions? Keep them coming. Okay, doesn't look like we have any other ones. So I'll get this out there this afternoon for you and check out all of our other Training Tuesdays. Chuck, thank you so much for hanging out with me again.
And by the way, looking forward to seeing if any of you are out there, stop by the booth and say hello.
Yeah. See you guys then. Bye.